Morning. God is good. All the time. God is good all the time. This 12th Sunday of Luke, already the church fathers are preparing us to enter into the Triodion period in preparation for Great Lent. And this particular text from Luke's Gospel has us going with Jesus from Jerusalem to Galilee. So Jesus is beginning his movement away from Jerusalem and going to the areas of the Gentile populations. And as he's going from Jerusalem to Galilee, he's met there by these 10 lepers. What's the context of this miracle? Let's look at what these lepers faced. Over time, it was contagious. A contagious nature that could wipe out a whole village. So if a priest saw someone suddenly wearing gloves all the time, he would insist on examining the person. And if he found leprosy, the priest would expel the leper from their village in the harshest way imaginable. If any signs appeared or fears arose, the priest would be pawing through people's scalps, fingers, toes. The emotional pain was even worse than the physical pain. You would be removed from your family, cast outside the community. There could be no contact whatsoever with one's children or grandchildren. No contact. Immediately removed. One's spouse would not be allowed to even kiss him or her goodbye. Those now marked and dying of this disease tended to roam together, looking for food, begging for assistance, but from a great distance, learning to yell in loud voices, both from the need to warn others and to beg for help across the way. Imagine what it would have been like to have been removed from family and friends for a lifetime, and to have been forced to announce that removal on a daily basis. We don't know their names, their genders, their social status, their backgrounds, their families. All the distinctive things about them have been eaten away by leprosy. We do know that at least one of them was a Samaritan. Normally, Samaritans and Jews have nothing to do with each other, unless now in this case they have leprosy. They now have a common bond that nobody cares, so nobody cares much about religion or nationality. Now, they're all outsiders who live by the gates of the village. When the lepers saw Jesus, they called out to him saying, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." It is striking. They don't even ask for alms. They don't even ask for healing. They ask simply for mercy. Mercy is what you seek when all hope is lost, when the stark reality of no future comes bearing down on you. These have always been the words and positioning that makes someone an insider with Jesus. Ultimately, it is one of the dual purposes we are here in this Eucharistic assembly this morning. Unless we confess our need for mercy, we'll never understand what Jesus and his church is really about. So these 10 men's lives hung on the words or actions of the man from Galilee. Luke makes a point of telling us that Jesus saw the lepers as they cried out to him. What he saw was the tragic demise of creation, of bodies, of relationships, of love. Jesus also knew that the only way they could return to their homes and families, according to the law, was to be declared clean by the priest. So he says, "Go, show yourselves to the priests." In other words, Jesus was saying, go to the priests for certificates of cleansing. They weren't free to ever come near anyone, including their families, unless the priests examined them and issued them a health certificate to proclaim that they were healed. Jesus, in other words, says, go get a physical examination. They went, and while still on their way, became clean. So they had to step out in faith before they were healed. And at some point, those 10 outcast lepers were changed. Diseased cells in their bodies were changed. They must have stood in utter amazement, looked at their hands, their feet, at each other's ears. They were whole again. They had been changed. Jesus' reputation was true. 10 suffering human beings had been touched by the Son of God. 10 suffering men had been touched by the cleansing and creating hand of God that was and still is very much at work in the world. So can you picture them bounding down the road to the priest, now running, now leaping, now dancing, wondering how the priest would react, anticipating the excitement of their families as they would return home, healthy, alive, with a health certificate proclaiming to all what had happened. But notice only one of the 10 returned to thank him. You know, we have over 3,000 names of souls in our database. And what's interesting that even on the best Sunday, so-called high season, only about 300 at the maximum attend the Divine Liturgy. An interesting statistic. Only 1 in 10 of these lepers cleansed returns to give thanks. And on a given Sunday, only 1 in 10 come here to worship the triune God. So I want to thank you for being that 1 in 10. Because now you and I are that image of the Samaritan. We are cleansed, we are healed, but most importantly, we know who heals us, and we've been given the special privilege of the Samaritan. This special privilege derives exclusively from his expression of gratitude. So while he's healed physically, he's not completely healed until he expresses thanksgiving. The other 9, though healed physically, now choose tragically to go back to their fallen condition. You see, gratitude is not simply something we owe, because we can never repay God for all he does for us. Rather, it defines the very nature of our relationship with God and with each other. The gospel says they stood at a distance and lifted up their voices and said, "Jesus, Master, have mercy on us." I was reading the charter of the Philoptoos, and it says it is a eleemosynary non-profit organization whose mission is to promote the charitable, benevolent, and philanthropic purposes of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of America. And the lawyers in the congregation can tell us what eleemosynary means. It comes from the Greek eleemosini, acts of mercy. So the work of Philoptoos is a concrete expression of seeking and sharing God's love and mercy. Today is Stewardship Sunday. Your material gifts in support of the church's mission make possible the dual purpose of our gathering today, the very reason for celebrating the Divine Liturgy, presenting ourselves to Christ for his healing and expressing our gratitude, Eucharistia, for this healing. So let us follow in the footsteps of the only one of the 10 lepers who was completely healed. Let us go back as foreigners in this world to give him due praise and honor. And he said to him, "Rise and go your way. Your faith has made you well." To him be all glory, honor, and worship, now and forevermore.